everyone, to other Conversations in the Void. I'm your host, Graveyard, minus my producer. He's under the weather. Hope he's doing well. We'll have him back here in the meantime in a couple of weeks. So I'm excited to introduce tonight's guest, writer, director, producer of Naptime Entertainment, El Jefe Del Horror himself. Please welcome to the Void, Nico Nice.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. We're here to nerd out on horror, right? We're just like we're having a cup of coffee or a pint of beer, or why not both?
Yep. Do it up.
Exactly. So before we kind of get in meat potatoes of the show, I'd like to get to know you a little bit more, Nico. Kind of like what was your first horror movie that you can remember, like fully watching?
I actually do remember this. It's actually one of the only like real memories I have of like my real dad. We're not close, and it's just like it's just whatever.
Mhm.
But I remember I was really young, and he forced me to watch Poltergeist, and it was the scene when the dude's washing his face, and it scared the shit out of me. And ever since then, it's just been this thing with horror that you just can never get enough of it. I mean, for me, how I kind of like, because I mean, I feel like as horror fans, we all kind of were scared at one point
Yes.
of them,
yes.
and that's kind of like the thrill of watching them. Now that we're older, was when I actually started working at Suncoast Video. So this is how long ago it was when
Mhm.
Suncoast was still a thing. When I had moved up to the area here in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I had to make friends with everybody at Suncoast, and they all um were into horror movies. So my boss was like, look, and he was a young dude, like we're close in age, and he was like, look, he's like, buy like the 5 horror movies that like scared you the most, and he's like, and if you still hate them, I'll let you bring them back. I'll even give you the money back for it, like it's fine. And son of a bitch, like it worked. Like half of them now are like movies that I watch on repeat, so it's been a love affair like ever since with
Oh,
it.
oh yeah, Suncoast. This is pre-internet where
Hmm.
you had the Italian Evil Dead movies that existed. I'm going, wait a minute, there was no Evil Dead 4. What crap is this? So I had to buy it just to see what it was.
And you
you
also
know.
remember too, this is the days of Anchor Bay before there was
Mhm.
Scream Factory and Arrow Video. It was Anchor Bay was the only one putting out all the genre films at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just Suncoast was my jam because I
Hmm.
went straight to the horror. That's where I got all 4 Attack of the Killer Tomato movies.
Right.
you know, but you're right, and kind of everyone's scared of it at first. Like I said, the only one that really scared me was Jaws growing up in the Midwest. I was afraid of sharks. It makes no sense.
It's funny because one my and I know we're going to get into it in a little bit. My
Mm,
director of photography, she went to Full Sail, but we were talking about movies that like when we were kids were trauma, and that was the one she picked was Jaws.
yeah.
That traumatized her. Mine, surprisingly, was Pet Cemetery.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. I mean, that 2-year-old is pretty vicious.
Well, I mean, it's
I
also
know.
Zelda.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's amazing what gets you. And I had the honor of talking to Carl Gottlieb, who wrote Jaws the movie,
right.
and I'm just like, I'm sure you hear all the time that movie scared the shit out of me. He's like, where do you live? I go, Midwest. There's no oceans by you. I go, that's very true. I didn't know what was in the lake. I was like 3, you know. But and I think really is as you talk about, it's horror is addicting in a way that you're always trying to find the movie that gives you that scare again. And I think that's part of our drive as horror fans.
So interestingly enough, and like I know I said like I was scared, but there was a couple that like I kind of grew up on that like still to this day I consider like in my top 3. But my all time favorite, and even as a kid, like when I would go to the mall like on my own, like this was like the first VHS that I bought with my own money
Mm-hmm.
was, and it's my all time favorite horror movie, An American Werewolf in London.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a fantastic movie. I watch it every time it was on.
Hmm.
Um, I I'm trying to remember how I was introduced to that movie. It might have been through Joe Bob at one of his late night stuff at some point in time because Joe Bob, Monster
Right,
Vision, late
Monster
night.
Vision,
Yeah, it
right on
was our
TNT.
was our TV versions of horror movies. That's why I learned about Toxic Avenger and stuff like that
I
too.
was actually having a conversation earlier with a friend of mine because we were talking about how Fright Rags is releasing a Prom Night 2, uh, like drop on Friday. And
Really?
I have a love for and it's such a shitty movie, but it's so bad. It's that Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2. And I
Mhm.
was showing her one of the t-shirts, and she's like, "Oh, that's actually pretty cool." And she's like, I don't like the original Prom Night, but Prom Night 2 is the one." And I was like, "Yeah, I blame Rhonda Shear and Gilbert Gottfried for that because it was always on up all night." And
Mhm.
to kind of go back to American Werewolf, how I found it was very interesting was Michael Jackson's Thriller. Because
Okay.
when the V I was because I'm in my mid 40s at this point, but I was a kid when Thriller came out, and like we had the VHS and we warped. This is how long it was a VHS, and we warped it out. But during the behind the scenes part of like that, the making of Thriller on that VHS, when he's talking to John Landis, he talks about how he saw American Werewolf in London, and I was like, oh wait a minute, what's this? And I kind of my uncle actually had it back when you used to be able to dub VHSs back then, so like I kind of wasn't allowed to see it, but I still like snuck it off the shelf.
Right.
Popped it in.
Right.
I was blown away by the transformation scene in that
Hmm.
film.
Yeah, I agree. I think that transformation scene is still to this day the best on-screen werewolf transformation.
Agreed. Agreed.
Period.
I will 100. And on it, ironically, I think the second one is Thriller because it's still Rick Baker.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think Howling was pretty interesting as
Howling
well.
was a decent one. I feel like if they would have maybe stuck with Rick Baker for that, it probably would have topped American Werewolf if that had happened. But Landis kind of stepped in dog shit and got lucky and got Rick Baker to do it instead.
Yeah, for sure. You talk about Prom Night, stuff like that. I'm a huge Laserdisc collector of all things horror, and I have all 4 Prom Nights and Laserdisc. Have all the Howlings, so I have all just the shittiest movies as possible on Laserdisc.
Well, are we really horror fans if we don't like some of the shitty ones?
No.
I mean,
it's everyone has a guilty pleasure, and it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, we do. Mine, honestly, and this is like the word is Halloween Resurrection.
I remember that was the first one I was actually 18 to go see in theaters because 17. My theater made you wait till you're 17 to see it, so that came out in 2002. So
Yeah,
I was either 17 or 18 at that point in time. So that was my first Halloween in theater. Was Resurrection.
Ironically, that was my first one, and it was in my early 20s for that one. But I think the main reason why I enjoyed it so much, I'm going to be 100% honest. My friends and I, before we went in, we smoked a fatty before we walked in there, and it was like 100% in hell, like a blunt to the head, like the 4 of us, and we went in there and we were hysterical, fucking laughing at this movie. To this day,
Yeah.
I still watch it, and I'm entertained. Like I get the hate for it, but I don't see it. I mean, it's not Halloween Ends. That's probably the worst Halloween movie.
Oh, easily.
Like by
Easily.
far.
Yeah. We as my co-host and I on another show that we do movie reviews like Halloween Resurrection. We call the end of the rapper timeline.
Yeah, because of the LL Cool J and Busta Rhymes. Yeah.
Yeah. So Nico, I want to we talk about like your favorite stuff like that. So in your opinion, what's kind of like the most underrated piece of horror IP or franchise that if you said Graveyard, you haven't seen this movie, you have to watch this right now?
I don't know so much that if it's an IP, but there's always 2. Whenever somebody asks me, like, is there something like under or 3? If there's like an underrated, I always say Frailty, May, and The Loved Ones.
Yes.
And if I had to pick a 4th, but I feel like this one's getting more love, would be Dog Soldiers. But I feel like it's getting a little bit more love now, especially since like Terror Threads and Fright Rags are releasing T-shirts for it, so people are more aware. And plus, Scream Factory has like the 4K. But those 3 specifically, especially Frailty, because a lot of people don't know about Frailty.
Love Frailty, love May. I remember seeing May in theaters. Because it had the guy from Wrong Turn, so I had to watch it because of that.
It's funny too, because like when my friends and I were watching it, the first thing we did was rolling with the homies because he was in Clueless too.
Oh,
and I'm not a fan of Clueless, but he was the only part of that movie that I thought was like funny because he was doing that whole thing with the. So every time he came up on the screen, we're like, "Oh shit, it's rolling with the homies," and you have to do that with it because that's what he does in the movie. So
right, yeah. The gentleman that made Frailty is actually coming on the show later this year.
Really?
Yeah. So that's like I think that's great. Like I said, I love Frailty. I have to obviously watch it. Dog Soldiers. I completely agree. I think Werewolves that came out helped bring Dog Soldiers more into the light.
I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I want to because I'm a big werewolf fan in general for horror. It's one of my favorite subgenres, and I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the other one with Chance the Rapper either, where he's the pizza delivery.
Yeah,
Where he's a werewolf, I think, but
we
that's
just
also on my list to watch.
we just wrapped our found footage werewolf movie a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Poor Dads. Yeah, it was a fun shoot. I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. I look forward to seeing that too because I love anything werewolves like that. That's my jam.
Yeah. So Nico, then on the flip side, because we always have our guilty pleasures, but not every horror is for everyone. Do you have something that's just like very overrated in your opinion that just gets too much love that you don't understand the appeal to it?
And I get both sides of the coin for this one. The Exorcist.
Completely agree.
I think it's completely overhyped. It's long. Which I don't mind character development because I actually just saw Sinners, and my fiance didn't really care for it. She thought it was slow. I dug all the character development because it made what happened in the third act like very impactful. But The Exorcist just fucking drags, and then it's like the last 20 minutes is like what's the best part of that movie because it's all the special effects that are on display, and then it just stops.
Yep.
So I don't know. I've always felt it was overrated.
Yeah, this is a debate that my co-host and I have a lot because we see Exorcist as well. I think if you didn't see it in theaters when it came out, it should not still be the scariest movie of all time. Like it is impactful when it came out, and I completely understand that. But when you have 20-year-olds saying it's the scariest movie of all time, why? It's not. There's no way that's the
really
scariest.
Not. No, and honestly, I think it's probably the most spoofed horror movie like that, like Scary Movie 2. That was the opening, and Repossessed.
Yes,
Linda Blair came back and did Repossessed with Leslie Nielsen. Like, there's always something where somebody's spitting like pea soup, and it's always a nod to The Exorcist because they did it in that. But and I saw that comment pop up. No, for the record, I loved Sinners.
Oh yeah,
it was fantastic. Putting that out there. No, I was 100% a fan.
Oh yeah. But I think with Repossessed, I think Linda Blair had to come back because of the train wreck that was Exorcist 2 and kind of killed her career.
Yeah.
For a lot of time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, the third one isn't bad, but I don't really consider it. It's not really. I feel like they just slapped the title on there, just because.
Yeah, it's almost like what we have dubbed on the show is the Hellraiser syndrome. And Cloverfield is another part of Hellraiser syndrome, where essentially you had the first 4 Hellraisers that were Hellraiser movies, but then the next 4 or 5 after that, they go, here's a horror movie. Let's have 30 seconds at most of Pinhead. Therefore, Hellraiser movie.
No, I agreed. It's just like it was like the Dimension like sequel diarrhea, like mixed sequels basically. Like they were like McDonald's. Like every week there was a new Children of the Corn coming out on DVD, or like you said, Hellraiser or Dracula 5000 at that point that they made like 2 sequels to that. I mean? Like I get it. You're right.
Yeah.
And the Crow. They even ruined the Crow with all like the sequels because the original's still head and shoulders above anything else that came out.
Oh,
for
easy.
For that franchise.
I might venture to say the newest one is the worst one.
Which is saying a lot. I mean, it looked shitty as it was. I wouldn't even bother. Not even for like a revenge, like I hate this fucking thing so much I'm gonna watch it type thing. But to the point, honestly, I got one of the t-shirts, the tease of mystery from Fright Rags, and one of them was the Bill Skarsgård Crow. And my friend just happened to be here, and I'm like, "Do you want this? Because I'm not gonna fucking wear this shit." And she was like, "Yeah, I'll take it. It'll be like a nighttime around the house shirt." I'm like, "Cool, enjoy it. God bless. Have fun. It's yours." That's how much I didn't want to have anything to do with that fucking movie. I gave the shirt away.
Yeah, the Crow is the face paint. He is the goth. He is Sting.
Basically.
Not the
Scott Hall. Scott Hall was responsible for that one. We know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
awesome. So Nico, let's kind of get into kind of like sticks and stones, right? So tell us about where you're at with that, how that came to be, and really made you dive into the movie making world.
So I've always wanted to get into this. This has always been a passion of mine since I was a kid. Even I dare say probably since watching Thriller and American Werewolf, where you
Mm-hmm.
know, getting to be able to see like the behind the scenes of this stuff and seeing how it's really done. I always knew like this was something that I was going to be doing eventually. I mean, sometimes it takes a little longer to get there, but we get there eventually. We get there when we're supposed to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been interested in directing and writing, producing. So the idea kind of came about, was working at Suncoast. I had one of our regular customers. He's a like a very prominent doctor in the area. You would never think this guy was like a huge horror sci-fi fan. His entire finished basement, it's like huge. Like it's square feet filled from floor to ceiling with rare memorabilia from different like collectors. I mean, he's got one of the, like the Robbie the robots in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got an R2D2. He's got um props from like The Exorcist, from Texas Chainsaw. He's got whatever. So it was around the time when the Texas Chainsaw remake was coming out. He actually was like, "Oh, if you were to ever do one, what would you do?" And I was like, honestly, Creepshow would be one that I would, because I
Mm-hmm.
love Creepshow. I think Creepshow
Oh
is
yeah.
probably the greatest anthology, but it had been at that time, it had been years since Creepshow 2 would come out. And I'm like, oh, I have, I have ideas for it. He's like, well, just for shits and giggles, come up with something. And then I kind of came up with something, and I'm like, you know what, but we're not going to get the rights for it. So one of the stories that was in that initial like script treatment that I did would eventually metamorphosize into Sticks and Stones that I
Okay.
did. So basically, this is, if we're doing the elevator pitch, it's Mean Girls meets Carrie meets Heathers without the psychic powers of Carrie. It's an
Okay.
anti-bullying film, um, but it's also a love letter to the 80s, 90s slasher films that we
Mm-hmm.
grew up on. It does very much follow some of the rules while also not reinventing the wheel, but kind of going on its own at one point. Um, I mean, I'll be honest with you, like we've had a lot of known like scream queens that have read the script, loved it, wanted to play the main adult like character figure in the film, but we unfortunately can't afford what their fee was. But I mean, like to the point, like I was just like, wow, I'm in a position now where I'm turning down so and so that was in this particular movie back
Mm-hmm.
in the day that I grew up on, and they're telling me my script, and I'm not trying to brag, but they're telling me my script is brilliant. They get it, they dug it, they loved everything about it, they would love to do it, but this is how much it's going to cost to get me. So
Mm-hmm.
we did find somebody who, she has been in quite a few trauma films, so she agreed to do the film. So we're going to work with her, and honestly, she honestly kind of embodies what I created for the character
Okay.
better. So it was kind of like the snowball effect of, I got my main actress. My lead actress is Carly Sonnefeld. She was in Crackoon. She was in quite a few other movies. I know Crackoon is one of the more prominent ones that she's been in recently. That was on Screenbox.
Mm-hmm.
We also got a diamond in the rough, Lexi Graves, that's doing a complete 180 because she's the biggest sweetheart and she's going to play the most vicious bitch people have ever seen for a character. Um, we got, and I'll tell you who the person. It's Lisa Gay from Toxic Avenger 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
We got her. She'll be playing the guidance counselor in the film.
Okay.
And we're kind of just going from there. So we're just finishing recasting some roles because now we actually lucked out now where our county where we live at in Lackawanna County in this area, we finally have a full film commission now. So they're actually getting behind this film. They're getting behind the project. This is going to be one of the first projects that they're going to be producing and helping to make because we're one of the only ones that actually have a full feature length script. A lot of other
Right.
filmmakers locally are doing short films, and while there's nothing wrong with that, they don't want to focus on the shorts. They want the features because they want to be able to exhibit this. They want to be able to get this into film festivals. They want to
Mm-hmm.
be able to promote it. They want to be able to bring more prominence to the area besides Dunder Mifflin. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, because I mean, that's what this area is mostly known for, is The Office. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we kind of want to make people aware that there's way more here than just a fictitious paper company.
Right. Yeah.
So
I looked. I mean, I did look for Dunder Mifflin as I drove through Scranton to get to Connecticut last month, but it's a beautiful area.
I mean, downtown is all right. I mean, it depends on certain parts of it because some parts are more hood than others. I'll be honest with you. It is what it is. That's like anywhere.
Mhm.
But I don't know if you got a chance to stop at Cooper's because that's actually where they have the NBC Superstore. That's where all the office stuff is.
Oh no,
Is in Cooper's. It's one of the best seafood restaurants in the world.
yeah, we literally had to drive through it because it was a 14-hour drive for
Oh
us
wow.
from Chicago to
Wow.
Connecticut.
Yeah. That'll.
So
We also just got a Chili's like locally here because I don't know if you watch the show, but like
mhm.
they always go to Chili's. It was actually in Wilkes-Barre. It was a half hour from Scranton. It was never in Scranton. Now they put one slightly closer to Scranton, but they have it decked out where there's like a photo op where you can take it like with the bloomin' onion and the margaritas like on the shelf.
Nice. That's
So,
cool. But yeah,
but
I'm excited for the film commission though because and where I'm at, Northwest Indiana, we're just a small town. Yes, I'm technically 2 towns from Chicago,
mhm.
so Indiana suburb of Chicago. But I mean, that's cool that you're able to get that the film people there behind it. So what's kind of that been like? I mean, that has to be exciting for you.
It was exciting. It was surreal. Like they actually had an event last May. Well, this past May when they kind of just like christened the entire film commission. It's like newly minted. Um, Stephen Cognetti from the director of Hell House LLC is part of the
Hmm.
film commission. So I got to meet up with him. We got to chop it up a little bit. We went over sticks and stones, and um, he was asking me questions about it. I was telling him, and then we just kind of he just was like, dude, this sounds awesome. Like he's like, I can't wait for you to make this so I can actually sit down and watch this. So that was actually kind of cool with
Yeah,
that. I mean,
yeah.
honestly, like we kind of because when I say we, I mean it was me and some of my production team. We kind of felt like the bells of the ball there because we were like the cool kids table because we were the only ones that had marketing material. Like we had our sales pitch posters, we had stickers. People were asking us to sign them. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like it was just like surreal that we were being treated like superstars, and we haven't
Hmm.
even shot a frame of film yet, which is the film is going to speak for itself when it comes out. But the fact that we were already garnering that much attention on that alone, like that was just surreal, and it was humbling. Is really what it
Hmm.
was.
Yeah, I mean, it's I've been part of Horror Dads officially for over a year now. I've been within their movies for about 2.5 years, and last July I was able to co-write something. We filmed it. We have to do another piece of it still. That's how long these movies take, obviously,
Hmm.
sometimes. But I'm now writing. I have some short features. I'm working on a short TV show called Decades of Horror, where we're going to film in the style of that decade and do 100 years of horror
That's
as a
awesome.
season and just do
I
it and
love that.
get multiple directors and writers just to do a compilation. I'm pitching that out. I'm pitching a TV show right now, and then my first feature film I'm gearing up to do next year.
So you know the process. It's not
Yeah.
easy. It's definitely a long road, but at the end of it, it's worth it once everything
Hmm.
comes to fruition. And you said you were in Indiana.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
funny story. I actually had to work my previous job. I had to go to Indianapolis. So Indiana is like my home away from home. I was there for a while. I loved
Hmm.
it. Like best food I've ever had was probably in Indianapolis, to be honest. I was there during the Devour Indie event.
Okay.
So I know I know about Broad Ripple. I know all the
Hmm.
spots over there. I love Indianapolis. Like
Yeah.
loved it to the point I actually became a Pacers fan, which is like a big no coming from New York. But
Yeah.
I got to
Yeah.
see the Pacers games more than anything, and I was rooting for them in the finals. And of course, we know what happened, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right though, but it's just making that the film it's a huge step. It's a huge
Hmm.
undertaking. It's a lot of time too, a lot of commitment. People don't. It's not just I have a script, and then it gets made in the next couple of months. It's
But you know what though too,
never
like
that.
I will say this about it, and this is a lot of things even like like Stephen Cognetti said, a lot of the people from the film commission said, and even like my family, because I feel like because it's taking a little longer than it should, but like we're doing the right things, we're on the right path for it, so
Hmm.
of course it's going to take longer. The hardest part was getting the script done. The script is the thing. It's like Quentin Tarantino always says, I'd rather be recognized more from my writing than my directing, because
Hmm.
anybody can direct a film, but to truly write a script that resonates with people, that means a lot. So if you did that, be proud of yourself.
Yeah. yeah, like I said, it's a huge undertaking, but it's worth it. Like I said, I co-written a couple of things now. I guess I'm doing my first full feature film, and it's so exciting because I used to do this way back in the day. I used to do stuff. I was in theater for 4 years in high school. I was in drama class and in the theater production team. So I did all that stuff. Early YouTube days, I was making shorts and sketches, and then I sat back for 15 years, 17 years, and did nothing with it since. But now I've been back into this for about 3 or 4 years. I'm just like, you know what? This is a passion. It's just a great way to share your vision of, especially in horror, to share it with other people, because
absolutely,
there's always nerddoms and fandoms that people don't like other people or stuff like that. But I feel like horror is more of a community, because we were those weird kids growing up that,
exactly.
You had to find like the one other person in school that liked horror.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and you brought it up too. I mean, to be fair, like a lot of like the fandoms that I'm sure Star Wars, pro wrestling, sports, Marvel, DC, they're very toxic. I'm into all that, so I know. So I see both sides of the coin, but I feel like with horror, it's not as toxic as the other ones. I mean, sure, like people will fight you tooth and nail about like Halloween Ends, for example. We hate it, but there's people who will tell us, no, it's the greatest one, and here's why, which is actually kind of cool, because like people will defend a film they love that much, where on the flip side, like you see like the backlash that Star Wars gets for whatever, you know what I mean? So that's I think you're right. That's part of the beauty of like horror. It's one big fucked up family that we're all into the same things at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, like I said, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. I'm a huge comic book nerd. And like I said, horror is just so different. You have some people like, oh, I don't like found footage. Oh, I don't like this. But it's never like that, just that hate that exists.
Right.
Most people are Star Trek or Star Wars, not generally both. Which is a shame. Which is a shame. So, well, Nico, we're getting close on time. So I have some wrap-up questions here. And we'll get promote, and if you have links to stuff, share with me, and anything you do for Sticks and Stones, make sure to copy me on Instagram
absolutely.
And Facebook.
I will tell you, I am having issues with my Insta. I'm gonna have to redo an Instagram, and because they got hacked, so I'm not even able to get on there. So I gotta.
Oh no!
I was gonna do like a more professional business page anyway for it. So right now I'm mainly just using Facebook for everything. So that's where I'll be on there more than anything.
Yeah, I do have your link tree in the description below too for people to follow.
Because most of it's for Sticks and Stones anyway, so it's all on there.
Awesome. So, I mean, you talk about the American Werewolf 100. What is your second favorite?
Creep Show.
Creep Show.
Creep Show.
1 or 2? Just the original.
I like both of them, but the first one really. That's
first one.
Yeah, I mean, I love two. Two's it's not a guilty pleasure. It's good, but it's not as good as the first one.
And we don't talk about 3.
No, it doesn't exist. It's so bad it gave me a migraine.
Exactly. All right, so Nico, the age-old question: practical or CGI?
Oh, practical always. Come on.
Yeah,
that's part of like we're trying to use very little CGI on Sticks and Stones. Everything's going to be practical if we can do it.
Oh yeah, and it's I've talked to people that have been in this industry for 40 years, people that are new to this industry, indie pros. Almost 100 episodes, only 2 people have said CGI in almost 100 episodes.
That says it all right there. I mean, this is also why the Terrifier films are what they are. It's those practical effects.
Exactly. So, Nico, if you could, besides your own movies, if someone knocked on your door, let's say Blumhouse knocked on your door and says, we want you to make the next entry.
Nightmare on Elm Street. I already have an idea for that. Yes, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay. That's my choice too. I have said if you keep yours to yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Freddy is, I can't really see him, but you can see the fedora right there.
I mean, I don't have the Freddy tattoo yet. Honestly, it would have been Friday the 13th, but I feel like it would be more fun to do it and challenging to do a Nightmare on Elm Street because of the dream sequences.
I like that. Like I said, my little tidbit is, for my idea is, sleep apnea and sleep paralysis is Freddy.
Okay.
Trying to get back.
See, I actually like the micronaps idea from the remake. That's the only good thing about that remake, because it was garbage otherwise. But that was an interesting concept.
Yeah. So, Nico, any advice for people just trying to get into it with you going through your adventure of your first movie? Any advice for people that you can give them that you kind of learned over this process?
Don't give up, no matter how hard the road seems. The road bump is there. If it was easy, everybody else would be doing it. Just keep going. Leap over those hurdles. Don't let anything stop you. Don't let anybody tell you that it's a pipe dream. Never give up. Never sell yourself short. Dream big on it.
Mm-hmm.
Never settle for anything less than what you think you're worth. And if you believe in yourself, your cast, your crew, whatever else you're doing, they will all believe in you too, as they'll share your vision if you're just as passionate as you are about it. Because you're the leader at the end of the day. It all falls on you with it. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're kind of half-assing it and you're like, yeah, I guess we're gonna go over here and set up. No, have passion, have fire in it, no matter what time of day it is. If you've been shooting for 12 hours, who cares? Suck it up and just stay strong with it. Don't give up.
Yeah. I tell you, I've done a couple 14-hour, evening into morning shoots, and those are long.
Yeah.
They really are. It's worth it though.
At the end of it,
really
yeah,
is.
it's always worth it because you're living your dream.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you ready for your random horror trivia question?
I am.
All right.
Right.
Snoop Dogg and Pam Grier star in what 2001 film about a vengeful spirit seeking to clean up his neighborhood?
Bones.
Correct. See, easy peasy. All right, Nico. So give us all your pluggables before we leave. Where can people find you, follow, and learn about Sticks and Stones?
You can find me on Facebook and Nico Nice on there. Sticks and Stones movie on Facebook, on all socials. Instagram, Twitter. Twitter, it's SAS Movie 1, I think. We're going to be making a Blue Sky because I know that that's a thing now. We have ideas for TikTok, so stay tuned for that to make for the marketing for it. It's going to be something interesting. We're doing something different than what other movies do. I really quick want to give a quick plug to my buddy Bob Heckman. He does Friday the 13th Phantoms, and it's Victim No More. That's the hat I'm wearing because he always hooks me up with like the hats and whatever. They're on YouTube. Check it out. They're fun. They have a lot of fun cameos in them. Also want to give a quick shout out to Jay Don Hoffa, one of my local buddies over here in New York and New Jersey. He's doing his thing, grinding with indie film. And just thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak on this. I appreciate it.
Of course, this is why I do the show as a creator as well. I like to support anyone that we possibly can. If we can get one more pair of eyes onto your project, that's what we're here to do. Honestly,
which I appreciate that. But this was so much fun, man. I'd like if you ever have me again, I will be more than happy to jump on again anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. And as your movie comes out, and if you're doing a campaign, hit us up. We will share out all your stuff that we can to get everyone interested in your
appreciate
work. Because this is, like I said, this is why we do the show. Indie support indie. That's all you can do. It's the best advice is don't be an asshole. Be nice. It doesn't hurt to be nice.
Exactly.
And
what's the saying? It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice.
Exactly.
There it is.
And like I said, and in this community, I'm sure you've seen some toxicness that exists behind the scenes that we don't generally talk about.
This is very true. I've like firsthand have seen some things that I can't talk about. That yeah.
But it's just if everyone's able to work together, this community seems big, but it's small in the same way.
No, absolutely.
We all know each other in some way, shape, or form at this point in time.
Absolutely.
So awesome, Nico. Thank you very much for coming on. I hope you had a good time.
Thank you again. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I had a blast, man. And again, anytime I will be more than happy to come in. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You have the link to the schedule, of course. And so anyone that's new here, follow us on social media at PodOutatNight. We have new interesting stuff coming out all the time. We'll see you next time. And don't get lost in the void. Good night.